Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to you, good afternoon, good evening to you, depending on whichever part of the world you are tuning in from. My own name is Sheriff Daramola, and I'm going to be your host for the next 30 minutes or so as we take a fresh new look at the financial market to strategically position ourselves ahead of today's trading session. Well, the last 24 hours has been quite interesting, though the new week started very slow. In fact, we across the USD pairs we had a very choppy scenarios during the first 48 hours of the week, but fortunately we were able to remain very patient to be able to capitalize on that bullish traction that began yesterday in favor of the US dollar. And as a result of that, we had significant movement in the XAUUSD, the USDJPY, though the GBPUSD is still struggling to gain some momentum at this particular point in time. But we are going to be looking at it from a technical standpoint to guide our trading activities for today. And as usual, in preparation for today's trading session, for today's morning session, I have conducted a comprehensive price action based technical analysis using simple technical parameters such as trend lines, key levels, and of course chart patterns to gain valuable insight into the historical price movement of the assets on our watch list for this week. And the assets we've been looking at this week are the USDJPY, the GBPUSD, and of course the XAUUSD, which is popularly known as the gold spot. So it has been quite an interesting week for us all. And for those who are joining us for the first time, you are highly welcome on board. You might be asking, what is this all about? Well, this is the Forex Morning Mastery with Sheriff Daramola, and we come here every morning in anticipation of both the London and the New York session, where we review our existing position and at the same time strategically position ourselves ahead of the London and the New York session. We basically focus on the 1 hour time frame here, and it's a follow-up detail to my previous analysis on these assets that we are looking at. So during the course of the weekend, I normally share a top-down analysis on how we are going to be preparing for the week. And if you have not watched those videos, I will implore you to watch them, as it will help you understand what is really going on here when we discuss on the 1 hour time frame. And most importantly, you can use it as an educational tool in understanding the efficiency of using price action to determine or guide your trading activities. So I have the link to those videos right in the description box of this current video. So if you do want to watch them, you can check them out and see. And of course, they are duly timestamped so you can easily navigate to whichever chapter of the video is of your interest. So once again, you are all welcome on board. So with that being said here, we shall be diving right into the business for today. And of course, you know how we do it. The first thing we are going to be doing is to keep tabs with the fundamental aspect. And you all know by now, especially for all of us who have been monitoring or been part of this community, will know by now how important these fundamental factors are, as they normally manifest on the chart in technical patterns and of course price movement. By monitoring the economic calendar, we can easily identify potential correlations between key economic releases and of course specific technical patterns, hereby giving us valuable information that we need to strategically position ourselves in such a way that we can catch any potential move prior, during, and even after the event. So on the economic calendar for today, Thursday, August 17, we normally focus on high impact event from the economies affecting the assets on our watch list. And of course, we have the yen, we have the Japanese, we have the United Kingdom, and of course the United States. Now for today, Thursday, August 17th, we do not have any high impact event for today. And so what I will be doing at this point is to filter in the medium impact event. Let's see if we can see anything to look out for. Know the timing so that we can look at the patterns and structures that we shall be using to guide ahead of that event. So let's include this one and let's see what we have. So for today, Thursday, okay, so we have the initial job claim coming in about 3 to 4 hours from now, and this is released by the US Department of Labor, and it is a measure of the number of people filing first-time claim for state unemployment insurance. So in other words, it provides a measure of strength in the labor market, and a larger than expected number indicates weakness in this market, which also influences the value of the US dollar in some sense. Now, if we look at the previous data here, the previous data came in at 248,000, and there is a general consensus projecting 240,000. So there's still a little bit of positivity in the air. So there is an expectation that this will have reduced for the month of August. So we are going to be looking forward to what the actual data is going to be like on that one. So don't forget, this is coming up in about 3 hours from now. Then we also have the Philadelphia Fed Manufacturing Survey, which is released by the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia, and this survey is an indicator of the manufacturing sector strength, and it's also related to the ISM Manufacturing Index. So normally a reading above expectation is considered as positive for the US dollar. Now, if we look at the previous data here, it came in at minus 13.5, and we have a general consensus projecting minus 10. So we have a little bit of positivity in the air on that one too. So we'll look forward to what the actual data will be. Then we have a series of CPI data coming in from the Japanese economy, and since we are monitoring the USDJPY, it's also important that we include this into what we are going to be looking forward to in terms of fundamental aspect. Now, this is released by the Statistic Bureau, and it's a measure of price movement obtained by comparison of the retail prices of representative shopping baskets of goods and services. And the CPI is the most significant way to measure changes in purchasing trend and, most importantly, the inflationary status of that economy. And generally, a high reading is considered as positive for the currency of that economy. And from what we have here, the consensus projection is speculating something a little bit lower than the previous data. So we're going to look forward to what that one is going to be. However, as technical traders here, what we're going to be doing here is to try and sniff the current market structure to identify structures and patterns that we shall be using to guide our trading activities for today. So with that being said here, I will be diving right into the charts, and of course the first financial asset we are going to be taking on this morning is going to be the let's see, which one is that? Okay, I think the GBPUSD. So on the GBPUSD, the market has been a little bit indecisive, though we have been noticing higher lows in this market since the beginning of the week, but we are yet to significantly see a higher high to further affirm that buyers are dictating the pace in this particular market. Though we had some couple of buy positions at the beginning of the week, we sold two, though price wasn't really moving significantly in both directions, as you will see here. So let's talk about how the week started for us on the GBPUSD and what led to the decision of selling and buying this asset during the course of the week. So at the beginning of the week, we saw this beautiful flat channel, which was what we were using to guide our trading activities at the beginning of the week. So we saw our price was confined within the 1.20750 level and the 1.26680 level to give us an indecisive phase at that particular point in time, which further emphasized the level of indecision, of course. And at this point, you know that what we normally do is to wait for a signal to come, which of course will come either in the form of a breakout of the resistance line to give us an opportunity to buy, or the breakdown of the support line to give us an opportunity to sell. Now, with the scenario here, we had our first sell position triggered as soon as price broke down that support line there, which also shares a beautiful confluence with our key level at the 1.267. And for those who have been with us in this community, you know how we use our key level. When price action breaks down the key level, we want to be looking out for patterns and structures that will support the idea of selling, while a break above of the key level will give us will make us look out for patterns and structures that will incite the idea of buying. Now, with price action breaking down our key level, it was quite a very sensible area to sell the GBPUSD at that point. And in fact, we had our sell stop order to trigger our first sell position for the week, which moved roughly about 50 pips before the bullish momentum began. And if you had moved your stop loss accordingly, just like we always preach in this community, when price action moves significantly well in our favor, you definitely must have been taken out with a modest size of profit, or at a worst case scenario, break even. Then, since price action climbed back above that support line and the key level, we begin to see higher lows begin to form on this current market structure. And one of the things we did after noticing the higher lows here was to connect the series of higher lows to give us an ascending trend line, which we agreed that we are going to be using to guide our trading activity for this week. And what this simply means is that as long as price action remains above that ascending trend line, we shall continue to look out for patterns and structures that will support the idea of buying, while we also look out for more opportunity to maximize the potential of that bullish move. And as you will see here, since Tuesday's trading session, price action had remained above this ascending trend line, hereby supporting the idea of buying this asset. And of course, on both occasions, we positioned ourselves above the 1.20750 level. Remember, that was the initial resistance line for the week, and we agreed that as long as price remains above this level, we will continue to hold on to a bullish buyout. So we had some couple of buy positions. We had one right here. Then we also had another one happen during the early hours of yesterday. If you remember, price came back into this area. Remember, I told us all to move our stop losses to the entry zone. And since yesterday, we are yet to be taken out of this buy position. So you will see that though price still remains above the key level and the ascending trend line, but the traction in the bullish momentum is not something promising at this point in time. Now, let's look at what is really going on here and how we intend to position ourselves. Now, one of the things I observed this morning while trying to dissect and decipher where price action is likely going to be heading to this week is this one right here. We saw the high around the 1.27450 level and the new high which falls around the 1.276. Another psychological level shows that the traction, the bullish traction from this trend line, and compared to the traction from this trend line, wasn't really that significant enough to affirm that buyers are really going to stay. So at this point in time, for me to feel very comfortable in this buy position, I would want to see price action take out all the sellers around this area to give me a very beautiful affirmation here that price action will continue to climb to the high side. Now, that is one scenario to this. Then secondly, you will notice how the 1.27800 area, we talked about this in detail in my GBPUSD video, which I shared during the weekend. If you had not watched it, please do. We have the link in the description box below. So we talked about how important the 1.278 is. And in fact, since the beginning of this month, that level had continued to be a strong selling niche. Buyers have struggled around that zone since the beginning of the month. So we want to see this level broken to the upside to really feel very confident that the pound sterling is going to be rising and closing on a positive note for this week. So at this point in time, we're still within a very indecisive phase right now where we'll still need to see some couple of higher highs to further affirm that buyers will be dictating the pace here. Now, because of this situation here where the bullish traction isn't really pushing that much, I'm beginning to suspect that we are likely going to be seeing a bearish move in this particular market, especially after considering how the US dollar began to gain some significant traction during the later part of the New York session yesterday. So, and as a result of that, we cannot ignore the potentials the sellers also have in this particular market. Now, if we are going to be considering selling this asset for today, of course, we will need price action to break down that ascending trend line that has been supporting this bullish idea since the beginning of the week. Now, for me to sell, I would rather want to see price slice through this trend line. First of all, remember that we are not going to be getting too excited here, as we will need some confirmations to happen before we jump into that sell position. And one of the things we want to see on the lower time frames is signs that buyers are finding it difficult to climb back above that ascending trend line. And of course, this would reflect on the chart as price coming back to retest either the trend line or the 1.20750 level. And most importantly, what we want to be looking out for is continued selling pressure to give us signs that sellers are going to be dictating the pace. Now, there is a caveat to this current structure here, and I will need us to mark this level out. Remember, we said we had this descending trend line on the 4 hours time frame. For those who have watched my video on the GBPUSD, you'll be familiar with this trend line here. So we have a trend line which was finally broken this week. And one thing from a technical standpoint is that when price action breaks out of a trend line such as this one, we expect that some point in time price is likely going to come back and retest that trend line in anticipation of another wave of bullish momentum. Now, if we are going to consider selling here, that is, if price action at some point breaks down that ascending trend line and we join the bearish momentum, we want to be very, very vigilant as to see how price action would react to this descending trend line that was broken earlier on this week. Now, depending on how price action reacts to this trend line, will now determine if we are going to be adding more sell position to our existing trade, or we are going to be getting ready to buy the GBPUSD. Now, if you look at that zone right there, it also shows a beautiful confluence with that initial support line we identified at the beginning of the week. So with a beautiful confluence there, it's a very crucial moment we will be looking out to see how the market will be reacting to that level. So if we begin to see buy pressure resume there, then we want to see this as an opportunity to join the uptrend continuation. And if price breaks down and retests that level, then we want to be looking forward to adding more sell position. But trust me, we shall be together on both my TradingView and Telegram platform as we continue to monitor price action here. So this is how I'm going to be managing my trading position on the GBPUSD for today. So you want to be marking out those levels on your chart, and let's see how far this is going to go. Is it going to be bullish? Is it going to be bearish? Let's see how the market. So our center of focus is going to be between the 1.27340 and the 1.20750 area, where depending on how price action reacts to this level will determine how we are going to be managing our position. Currently, we have a buy position running, and I do hope you moved your stop loss to the entry point, and let's see what happens afterwards. If you have any questions whatsoever as regards to the current setup, feel free to let me know in the comment section, and trust me, I'm willing to be of help in that regard. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions whatsoever before we move on to the next financial asset. All right, I see your comment, Adeni Babalola. Good morning, and thank you for checking in on me. And I'm very glad to find you that you are around with us here this morning. Thank you very much. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page here. So we shall be moving right into the next financial asset on our watch list. So the next asset on our watch list for today is my favorite, that is the XAUUSD, which actually hit my TP target at the 1,890 level yesterday, giving me about over 200 pips, I think. Is it over 100 or 200 pips, I think, on this one, which is not bad at all for the first half of the week, actually. And it has been quite an interesting trading setup we have here on the XAUUSD since the beginning of the week, as we have been selling this particular asset throughout the week as price action continued to trade below that descending trend line. And for those who were around during our XAUUSD live monitoring window yesterday, we were at this crucial moment where price action did break down the 1,903, came back to retest that structure, and for about 3 to 4 hours we continue to see selling pressure around and below the trend line to further emphasize that sellers are likely going to be pushing price to the downside. And one of the criteria I made mention here, if you are part of the XAUUSD live monitoring window yesterday, is that the only condition that will make me want to buy the XAUUSD yesterday was for price action to break out of the 1,903 level, which was situated around here, and at no point in time did we see price breaking out and retesting that structure. So it was more of feel comfortable selling the XAUUSD yesterday. So we had a couple of sell positions. We added one right here at the 1,903, and remember, before closing the XAUUSD live monitoring window yesterday, we also talked about adding more positions at the breakdown of the 1,900 area. So it has been quite a very, very profitable trade for us this week on the XAUUSD. And for those who are part of this profitable journey, well done to you for being on standby to capitalize on that move. So at this point in time, no one should be in any trade right now. Even if price did not hit your TP target, it must have hit your stop loss, as you must have moved your stop loss to some certain level to secure your current position. And if you still do have a sell position right now, you do want to be moving your stop losses to that area, anywhere around the 1,900 area, because it also shares a confluence with that descending trend line we have here. Now, with the information we have on this chart, let me run through my commentary on the XAUUSD this morning. So what did I say on the XAUUSD this morning? So for those who are with me on both my Trading View and Telegram platform, you will definitely have be familiar with this, because I already shared this morning. But for those who are not, let's run through it quickly and let's see what I said here. Okay, there's nothing much I said. I said, okay, TP target is yielding more than 350 pips across 3 positions, while trading activities continue beneath the descending trend line. We shall exercise patience, observing how price action interacts with the trend line will shape our next line of action. So at this point in time, we want to remain very, very patient at this point in time. Now, one of the things that we cannot ignore on the 1 hour time frame is this descending trend line you will see on your screen right now, which I just highlighted. So this is a very major parameter that's supposed to be guiding our trading activity for this week. And as long as price remains below this descending trend line, we have no business buying the XAUUSD. We want to look out for patterns and structures that will support the idea of selling. Now, with this being confirmed, how do we intend to capitalize on the next move? Are we going to see a trend continuation to the downside? Or is there going to be a potential reversal pattern that might skyrocket price to the upside here? Now, the first thing I will be thinking right now is this impulsive move, this bearish impulsive move that led into that $1,889.50 level. Now, if you look at what happened as soon as price action tested that level, we begin to see some buy pressure resume around the 1,890 area, giving us signs that we might likely be seeing a reversal pattern. But we shouldn't be jumping into conclusion yet, considering that strong impulsive move, as this could turn out to be a retracement of that impulsive leg. Now, how far would this retracement phase go before the second leg of the bearish momentum began happened is what we don't know, but we have a tool that we normally use to project where the retracement phase could likely culminate before the downtrend scenario happened, and that is the Fibonacci retracement tool. So if we run the Fibonacci retracement through the previous impulse legs like this appropriately, we should be aiming at the golden zone area, which should fall around the 50 and the 78.6% of that previous impulse leg. And if we do that correctly, we should be having an area around the $1,903.50 level and the $1,898.50 level as an area to look out for selling opportunities. So I will be labeling this our sell window for today. That is looking out for selling opportunities if we begin to start seeing reversal patterns there. Now I like giving my golden zone yellow color, so we have something like this. So we no longer need the Fibonacci retracement tool, so I'll take that one out, and this is what we have right here. So using our Fibonacci retracement tool, we can actually project where it is likely that a retracement phase will end. So we are going to be looking forward to see how the market will react to the zone. And interestingly, you will see that that zone shares a beautiful confluence with the 1,900 area and of course the descending trend line that has been supporting the bearish momentum so far for the last couple of weeks now. Now, if price action gets into the zone, we want to begin to see some signs that sellers are going to be taking over this market, which of course would reflect on the chart as lower highs, reversal patterns. It could be a double top structure, head and shoulder pattern around this area. Then we can join the downtrend continuation from that area. So that is what we shall be looking out for around that sell window within the 1,903 and the 1,898 to capitalize on a downtrend scenario. So that is one scenario to look at this. Then the other possibility that could happen here, that is if price does not get to that zone, that is the sell window, and instead it continues to drop to find lower lows and lower highs. If that is going to be the case, then we want to acknowledge the bullish momentum we've been witnessing so far, which will of course give us this trend line you will see on your screen right now. So let me bring this one up. So we have a trend line, and then I think we should have a level around the 1,892 area, which we shall be using as a level to guide our trading activity for today. So we have the 1,892. So I will be marking this one out right now. And of course, you do want to be marking that level out on your chart, as you will be needing it as a reference point to guide your trading activity for today. So we have the 1,892 marked out right now. And if we are going to be looking out for selling opportunities, we want to be looking at the taking out of all the buy position along the zone to give us further confirmation to join a bearish move. Now, before that breakdown happens, we are likely going to see the breakdown of this one retest. Then if continuous selling pressure happens there, then we can actually join a sell momentum even before the breakdown of the 1,892 happen. So if we join early, then we can have a sell stop order below the 1,892 level to maximize the potential of that bearish move. So at this point in time, things are still looking very bearish in the XAUUSD. So we are only looking out for patterns and structures that will support the idea of selling this particular asset at this point. So we have two areas we are looking at for selling opportunities for today. The first one is the sell window around that descending trend line, and of course this ascending trend line and the 1892, which is going to be a center of focus for a trend continuation pattern. However, in as much as we look out for selling opportunities, you know how we do it in this community, we also want to keep tabs with the opposite direction too as well. Is it likely that we see a bullish momentum coming here? It is very, very possible. And if that is going to be the case, what is it that we want to see here that will make us feel comfortable joining a bullish momentum? Well, the first thing first here is the fact that we have noticed buy pressure around this area, which we projected could be a retracement of the bearish impulsive move, remember? Then secondly, we have this engulfing bullish candle which sprung out of that area to emphasize some strength in buying power around that area. Now, will this turn out to be a move that could incite a reversal pattern? Well, if you look at the structure closely, we have a level here around the 1895, which was broken. Hold on a second. I always love to label my chart so that I can have a visual representation of what is going on around that area. So if you look at the 1895 here, it appears to look like the neckline of a potential reversal pattern within this old zone here. Now, for a reversal pattern to mature, we need price to break out and retest the neckline, and it appears we have something like that going on right now. We have a breakout already, so we're looking out for a retest of structure. In fact, if I begin to see some buy pressure around this area, that is sellers finding it difficult to break down that ascending trend line, that's, I will call it a short-term trend line at this point in time, because it's still within a very strong impulsive bearish momentum. So if we begin to see buy pressure around or above the 1895, we might likely want to be joining. Then when we join that bullish momentum, we want to be very careful. As soon as price gets into this descending trend line, move all stop losses to either your entry point or lock in some profit while we wait and see how the market will react to that sell window. Now, if price gets into the sell window and significantly breaks out of that descending trend line, and instead of seeing reversal patterns like double top structure to incite selling opportunities, then we begin to see like a retest of structure, continue buy pressure, then we'll have no other choice than to join an uptrend continuation. But trust me, it might look a little bit complicated at this point in time, but it's very, very simple as long as we remain patient, waiting for the structures to mature before jumping into any position. But trust me, I will be with you on both my TradingView and Telegram platforms to give you updates on how we are going to be managing this trade. And of course, we run the XAUUSD live monitoring window 5-10 minutes before the New York session begins. If you want to be part of that one, it's you will see how we manage our positions and how we get ready for new positions on this particular instrument. So these are my views here on the XAUUSD for today. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions whatsoever before we move on to the next financial asset. All right, so I can see a couple of comments here from Mansour. Good morning to you. Thank you for checking in. Richard Blackett, thank you for checking in. All right, I see you. Glad to have you around, Richard. All right, everyone. So in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page here, and what I said so far has been quite explanatory. So let's move right into the last financial asset for today. So the next asset on our watch list for today is the USDJPY, which has been doing pretty well since the beginning of this week. Remember, we have been buying the USDJPY since the beginning of the week, and there was no point in time price action gave us signs that it wants to go bearish. Though we had some projection yesterday, but it never matured. Remember, we were looking out for selling opportunities. If price action breaks down both the ascending trend line here and the 145.200, which of course never happened. And one thing we agreed here yesterday is that we are going to be looking out for buying opportunity. Remember, we had our buy position been taken out yesterday, and I told those who still have a buy position running to move the stop loss to the entry point. And one of the things that we said that will help us guide the uptrend continuation is if price action breaks out of this descending trend line. Remember, we had this descending trend line, and we also had the 145.540 level where we said a breakout of that structure will definitely welcome buying opportunities. Then we also mapped out the 145.770 level, which we of course said a breakout of that structure too will be welcoming more buying opportunities. And for those who took advantage of this buy positions here, the first one at the 145.540 and the second one at the 145.770, well, if you still have the buy position running right now, you will currently be having 73 pips on the first position and about 50 pips on the second position, which is roughly over 120 pips in profit on that single one. So well done everyone who took advantage of this opportunity. Now you know how we do it. The next thing we want to be doing right now is to move all stop losses to secure this current position. That is, if you still have a buy position running at this point in time. And for me personally, if you want to be moving your stop losses, I will be suggesting anywhere around and below the 146.00 area. Of course, we do want to give enough room for price action to breathe in case price wants to do some retracement into structure before jumping into another uptrend continuation. Now, with a well-secured position, what is going to be our plans for today, and how do we intend to capitalize on a next potential move? Now, the first thing we will observe here is that price action has been very, very bullish. And in fact, when we looked at the 4 hours time frame, remember that was where we began our analysis for the week. We had an ascending trend line which has been supporting this bullish momentum since the beginning of this month. I think, yes, beginning of this month. So we have this new ascending trend line, and of course, as long as price remains above that ascending trend line, we want to feel comfortable in a buy position. And one thing about this trend line here is that we cannot ignore the tendency of price action to come back into the trend line to incite an uptrend continuation. So we are going to be looking at the possibility of retracement on the 1 hour time frame to also take these expectations into consideration too as well. So with that information gathered here on the 4 hours time frame, let's scale back down into the 1 hour time frame to see what things are looking like from the lower time frame. Now, if you look at this structure closely, you will see that the highest point price action has been for this week is the 146.450 level, and you saw what happened as soon as price got into that structure. We begin to see selling pressure, and in fact, since the early hours of today, we have seen how buyers have found it difficult to break out of this level, hereby giving us continued selling pressure that could likely incite a retracement of the impulsive move. And this could be a reflection of profit-taking activities, as those who had bought the USDJPY at a very cheap price this week, let's say the 145.200, will want to be considering some profit-taking activities, which of course will reflect on the chart as a retracement phase. Now, with this situation here, it is quite clear that price action has been caught within a consolidation phase, as you will see here. Let me bring back my candle chart. All right, so we have something like this. So we have price around the 146.250 level, another psychological level you want to mark out on your chart. So now we have a beautiful range going on right now, and you know how we do it. Whenever we have a flat channel like this, it shows that there is an indecision in the market, and of course we want to wait patiently for a signal to come, either in the form of a breakout of the resistance line or the breakdown of the support line for an opportunity to trade. Now, with this scenario here, if price action breaks down the support line at the 146.250 retest of structure, we are likely going to be seeing a retracement of that impulsive move. Now, how far will that retracement phase go is what we don't know at this point in time. But if we look at the structure, we can see we have a couple of trend lines and key levels that we can use to gauge the area where retracement phase will culminate in anticipation of an uptrend continuation. So for me personally, I will be using the 145.770 and of course both ascending trend line to guide this expectation. So if price drops into any of the structures, I want to remain patient and wait and see how the market will react to these trend lines and levels to decide if we are going to be joining a sell position or getting ready for an uptrend continuation at the emergence of buy pressure around that area. Now, for those who are scalpers, short-term traders, those who would like to take quick trading opportunities or counter trade opportunities, you might want to take advantage of this breakdown of this 146.250. Well, if you don't feel comfortable taking counter trend opportunities or short-term trades, you can stay clear out of this one and just wait for the end of that retracement phase to happen before jumping into the next line, which is what I will be doing in this case scenario. Now, if you're a counter trend trader, you might want to take advantage of a potential 50 pips move max if you are a scalper. So you want to wait for breakdown retest for confirmation before jumping into that position. So that is how we are going to be managing this one around this area if price action ever breaks down the 146.250 level. However, if this structure here transition into a trend continuation pattern supporting the bullish momentum we have been witnessing so far, then a breakout of the 146.450 will be another opportunity for us to join an uptrend continuation. So we want to be on standby to capitalize on that one. And for those who are profitable so far this week, you can afford to leverage on the profit you have made so far to test waters above the 146.450 to see if the buy position there is going to click. And don't forget to have your stop losses in place. Around this area seems most appropriate, which will be dovetailing to around 20 pips stop loss on this move if it happens. So these are my views here on the USDJPY for today. So our center of focus is simply within this range, which is quite a very simple setup that we can use to guide our trading activities for today. So if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to let me know in the comment section, and trust me, I'm here and willing to be of help in that regard. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions whatsoever before we call it a day here. All right, so I see your comment, trench safe. I see your comment. You said, do you still trade the US all spot? Yes, I do trade the US all spot. I trade it behind the scenes. For this week, I'm trading it behind the scenes. And I actually did not have time to do the US all spot last week. My time was so jam-packed, so I wasn't able to do 4 financial assets for public digestion. But unfortunately, I couldn't. But I still trade the US all behind the scenes. And of course, during the exclusive live trading session I normally conduct with extreme speed. I have the US All Spot there, so you can check my channel by 12 p.m. UTC. I should have it uploaded. You will see the US All Spot in that analysis. I hope I answered your question, Trench Safe. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page here, and I'm very, very confident that we are well equipped to take advantage of any potential trading opportunity during both the London and the New York session. So we were able to take on the USDJPY, the XAUUSD, and of course the GBPUSD in anticipation of today's trading session. And in fact, we also had simple setups that we are going to be using to guide our trading activities for today. And I do hope you are able to mark out those levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your trading, independent trading decisions for today. And of course, I already shared the link to the XAUUSD live monitoring window, which is going to be coming up in about 5 to 10 minutes into the New York session today. So I implore you to be part of that session, and let's come together to monitor the XAUUSD price action together and probably trade too as well. So you can click on that link and click on the notify me button so that you get notified whenever we come online. So thank you guys. It has been a wonderful moment with you guys this morning. I really appreciate every single moment I have with you. And for those who had commented, Adeni Babalola, Mansuru, Richard Blackett, Trench Safe, you guys are just wonderful. And those who are behind the scenes, our silent watchers, you guys are very, very wonderful, and I really do appreciate. If you have found this content helpful and useful in making your independent trading decision, please support this project by clicking on the like button. Your likes are valuable to me, and in fact, it also helps the YouTube algorithm to identify this video and push it to a wider audience of traders who may find this content beneficial. Thank you in advance for doing so, and for those who I'd like to, I really do appreciate your very much support. Thank you very much, guys. And it's on this note I want to wish you all the best of luck during the London and the New York session today, and I will be seeing you right in the comment section on both my TradingView and Telegram platform as we continue to monitor price action. Do have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye bye.